Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new edition of the Final podcast. That's right, with a preview show. Charlie O'Connor, Clark, Kristian, Jack. And boy, oh boy, we've made it. We're into December. We have one more game left in this terrific 2021 Canadian Premier League season. Charlie, good evening. How are you? You ready for it on Sunday?
I'm so ready. It's been a long season.
You got a haircut. You got a haircut ready for the moment as well.
I did exactly. I knew I'd be on camera, so
you look good, man. Look good.
I'm excited though. It's been I feel like it's been a long season. It hasn't really. We started in end of June, but
it's 163 days, I think.
Yeah, which is short, but it's been a long road, especially after a pandemic and not having real seasons. But it feels good. It feels good to be talking about a final now.
It certainly does. And it feels right. No, for me, I think it feels right. It feels in the right place, hosted by the right team. Obviously, that goes hand in hand. And then the contenders from the West, here they come, Pacific. It just feels right. I mean, I know Cavalry had a good year as well, and they were close to getting it. But this is different. It feels like Cavalry Forge wouldn't have been fresh, but this is fresh on a 2023, 2021 season.
It is.
Fresh new haircut, fresh new final, right, Charlie?
It is, yeah. I mean, Forge have been in every final, and there's been a different opponent every time. Third time's the charm, maybe, for the challenger. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But it does feel right. Pacific have had a pretty incredible season. I know that they didn't quite get that first place spot, didn't get those home playoff games that they wanted because the last month and a half, maybe of the season, not quite the results they were looking for, but they were easily in the top three. Probably the second best team, if not the best team in the league at many stretches this season. So it does feel right. These teams have had great years.
So here's how the show is going to look. In about 10 minutes or so, we're going to get, I was going to say one of the best centre-backs in the league, but we can say that about both of our guests tonight. So we're going to get two centre-backs. That's right, two centre-back partnership. And you'd argue if you put together your best 11 of the season, these two might be sitting right in the middle of your defence. They're coming on the show together. We're going to have Daniel Krutzen on from Forge in about 10 minutes. And at the bottom of the hour at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, we're going to have Lukas MacNaughton on. And in the meantime, we're going to preview the show, preview the final here on the show. So please get your questions in now. And later in the show, special guest Adam Jenkins is going to drop by, who announced today he will be calling the final. And I'm so happy for Adam. He deserves it. He really deserves it. Everybody else, Gareth, Ian Hume, and Ollie Platt, they'll all be there on location from OneSoccer. But I'm really happy for Adam. He's had a great season, and we'll chat with him to preview the final at Tim Hortons Field as well. So please get your questions in on the side. I know we're live on Facebook as well as Twitter and YouTube as well. Stevie B asks, which player from each team is key to victory at the weekend, but not Becker? That's too obvious. So not allowed to say Becker.
Okay.
Charlie, you got a couple of players for us, and I'll get to a couple as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of places on the pitch where this match is going to be won or lost. I mean, Terran Campbell for Pacific springs to mind. He's been a difference maker for them all year. He was in a semifinal for them, scoring that goal. It'll be in many ways up to him and the rest of that attack to see if they can break down this Forge defense. And on the other side of that same coin, Forge's defenders, Dom Samuel is usually the guy that is the one who stays back and has to hold the line and has to stay organized. And he's going to be an interesting one to think about. But yeah, I'm sure there's other guys at Forge's attacking end that I think will.
Yeah, I mean, Omar Brownie, Omar Brownie, what a season he's had. This is a player that wasn't even part of the roster for 4 months. And we heard he was coming. And then, Bobby, every week we were asking Bobby on press conferences, any update on Omar Brownie? Well, we're trying to get our paperwork over the line. And as soon as he arrived in style. This is a guy who's just added a different dimension to the team. I think, when you look at how much depth Forge have got, and you've got Schwanier, and you've got Nanko, and you can run out Welshman, and you've got Babuli, and you've got Pacius, and then you've got Brownie, and only 3 of them can play, and maybe 2 if you play Borges in there as well. But only 3 of the 6 are going to play from the start. But I think he's going to start. I think you have to start Omar Brownie because the way that he's played, he's on a different level the last few weeks. His close control is exceptional. The way he opens his body up and plays balls quickly into the number 9 and can get on beyond. And by the way, he scored against the team Pacific 10 minutes before the end, in the only game at Tim Hortons Field this season between these two teams. He was a difference maker. So I think somebody like him for sure. And of course, Manny Aparicio, who was man of the match in the semi-final for Pacific on that cold afternoon in Calgary. Little bit of a spoiler. I'm going to release something tomorrow, video tactics that I did at OneSoccer on Manny Aparicio and Terran Campbell's role and how they won that semi-final in Calgary. And it just goes to show you, I think Aparicio's energy in midfield is going to be key. And Charlie, this Forge team doesn't lose midfield battles. So how do you go after them and win that? Not often at all, right? So when you've got Becker in there, as Stevie said, sometimes Cisse will play there. We'll probably expect him to play right back, depending on Grant's availability. Ashnoni Jansson's been a star this season. Borges has been playing as a 10. It's going to be tough for Aparicio to get the time and space, and they're probably going to be comfortable out of possession more than they need to be sometimes. But he's going to be a big player for this team as well.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And he's the kind of player that they brought in for those kinds of moments, right? He's a slightly more experienced player than some of their younger core. He's seen a lot of Forge, having played for York for a couple seasons.
Yeah.
And he's very familiar with not liking them and wanting to beat them quite badly. Right. So, and on several occasions beating them. But, I think he will be a very important part of this lineup. And he's a very creative player. Him going up against Becker will be a lot of fun to watch because both are those kind of creative middle players. It depends on where Aparicio goes. Sometimes he drifts a little bit further to the wing, but he's a very talented player. And on a set piece as well, you do not want to be giving up any of those opportunities to either team.
No doubt. Set pieces are crucial, aren't they, in finals? You'll see it.
Always.
By the way, they almost got the winner in the 93rd minute in Calgary. Aparicio ball in, Campbell free header just over the bar, and they survived and went to extra time. Of course, Cavalry scored their goal in Calgary from a set piece, corner in, Karifa Yao from Ben Fisk, and the equalized. Set piece is crucial, as we've seen so often. And of course, Forge also got a goal from a set piece in the semi-final when Becker's ball went in from the corner as well. Get your questions in as usual on the side. Jeffrey, our friend, comments first on Charlie's haircut, but has a better question. And he says, thoughts on the rumor of Parmadou Carr being on the shortlist for FC Dallas? This was released by ESPN Insider and extraordinaire Jeff Carlisle today, saying that Parmadou Carr was on the shortlist for the FC Dallas gig in Major League Soccer. This should surprise nobody. I don't know if it's public or not. I'm pretty sure it is, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Parmadou Carr was also talking to Seattle, maybe again about the assistant job earlier this season as well. He's got a lot of friends in Major League Soccer. He's an outstanding coach. He ticks a lot of boxes as a player for me who's played in the league, as a brilliant leader. And I think the most important thing that we should say here, Charlie, is that people are paying attention to the Canadian Premier League. That is key here. I think Parr would tell you that right now he was not ready for those jobs. He needs to get through a full season here, and this has been his first full season. Of course, last season was a pandemic tournament. But much like a lot of star players in our league, they are here for a short while and to make a big difference before moving on. And we wish them well when they do, right?
Absolutely. For the record, if a CPL coach does one day get a job in a league like MLS or somewhere else, that's a good thing,
right?
For the league. But in Parr's case, absolutely. The project isn't finished at Pacific.
Nope.
They obviously want to win a trophy this weekend, but they're building something, and that's something that they always talk about. Like from day one, from Parr getting there, it's been establishing a culture, building an identity, and just making a club that means something to Vancouver Island, to the players themselves, to the province. And I think that's kind of what goes in his favor so much, because Parr is this guy who comes into these, or has come into this particular club and kind of made it his own. Like he's become, in some ways, the face of the club.
Right.
Because it's his group. The vibe is completely set by him, and it's been pretty successful since he's been there. And, obviously it's good to see that, obviously Parmadou Carr comes from a bit of an MLS background, obviously played in MLS for a while, coached with the Whitecaps for a good bit. And he comes to the CPL and he doesn't fall off their radar, right? Which is important because he's come to the CPL, he's taken over as a head coach, and clearly there are eyes on him. There are eyes on coaches in this league, on the league's players as well. And I think that's also good news.
Eyes on the league, no doubt. For those of you who have watched my Beyond the Pitch this week with Bobby Smirniotis, a little slide in there We didn't get too much into it because obviously you could imagine Bobby not wanting to address it. But CF Montreal talked to Bobby Smirniotis last year. And let me just say, a lot more than just a conversation happened between the two of them, which follows up from Mike Newell's question, how long does Bobby stay in the league? Well, I think right now he is where he wants to be. But are people looking at him? Yes. And when addressed with that this week, if you can go on and watch Beyond the Pitch with me this week in a fascinating conversation with Bobby, he will say, there's always another level, right? There's always another level. And nobody will talk highly about this league more highly than him. He loves the Canadian Premier League and the standards that he's setting. And we should say they are, again, setting the standard again last night, Charlie. You were on it. You wrote about it. Go check out Charlie's great piece on CanPL.ca today. The analysis, Benedict Rhodes wrote the match report. Marty was all over the quotes. You guys talked to Kyle Becker and you talked to Bobby Smirniotis after the game. It was, again, another example of no matter what you throw at this team, injuries, suspensions, setbacks, here they go again, performing at a high level. And they did it again in front of a hostile crowd. A great night. And again, that's Bobby's leadership, isn't it?
It is. It always comes back to Bobby. And again, what he's set in place for this club, the basic foundations of this team, they've got an identity. They've got a way that they play. And they never, ever really change that.
Right.
And I think we've spoken about it so many times with the times that they've gone down to CONCACAF. They haven't played in an atmosphere like they did down in Honduras last night. But again, they were up for it. They're up for it. I think they really loved it. And it all comes down to Bobby. And it doesn't necessarily come down to, it's not Bobby coming in the dressing room before the game and firing everybody up and getting them ready in that way. It comes down to the long game, right? It's the big picture, things that he's set in place from the beginning of the 2019 season and has made sure that they keep standards and certain things going through this whole project. And I think that's the key, or has been the key with Forge, even from most of these players who've known Bobby since their days in Sigma or whatnot. There are things about a Bobby Smirniotis team that never really change, right? And I think that's probably a huge part of the reason that this club's been so successful and so impressive.
Yeah, they've got that continuity. I spoke to Kwame Awuah for a piece that's coming out this week. I think it comes out tomorrow, actually, and please check that out. And I asked Kwame what's the best thing about Bobby, and he said there's so many things, but he just loves how Bobby knows everything about football.
Yeah,
everything. He says it doesn't matter whether I ask him about a team in Europe or what he's watching or the salary cap in our league or how anything operates. He knows everything. We're going to get to Daniel Krutzen soon. A question upon Forge. JJB just firing a softball down the middle for me to hammer this one out the park. This is my kind of talk. JJB asks, is any player in the league more versatile than Elimani Cisse? In 3 years, he's played up front, wide, midfield, right back, and centre back. Anybody who listens to our podcast every week or reads my pieces or listens to anything, anytime I want to wax lyrical about Forge, will just learn so much about how much I love this man. This guy does everything in the league, and I don't know if he's going to get a Player of the Year nominee, but he'll be right at the top of the list for me this year. So, Charlie, I think I've said enough about Cisse and his unbelievable play for this team. What do you think? What about you? What do you think of him?
He's a pretty incredible player, and I think we started to see a little bit of it last year at the Island Games when I think in an 11-game stretch he played in maybe 4 or 5 different positions. And I think even at the time we asked Bobby about it, and he said, next game he's going to start in goal.
Right.
Because he really is a player who just has the work rate and the intelligence as an overall footballer that he can really play anywhere in a system.
Yeah.
Whether he's in midfield getting on the ball or whether he's, playing right back, as he has a whole lot of things recently. And every time still we ask Bobby about him specifically, and he just kind of grins and laughs and says, he's a pretty good right back, isn't he? You didn't know that. And it's true. So it's just a very, very impressive player to watch, and just the work rate that he has really anywhere on the pitch to either play the ball forward or to win it back is a pretty important part of this Forge team.
Yeah, a remarkably cerebral player, the way he reads the game at this level and can also go through the gears as well and really raise the tempo with this team. The way that they do it consistently is an absolute joy to watch. So, yeah, really, really every credit for Cisse and looking forward to watching him and playing and seeing him in the final is absolutely fantastic. I think we have our guest here, so we'll bring him in and we'll get talking about Forge, which is a perfect time to talk about him. Here he is, arguably the finest centre-back in all of our league, Mr. Daniel Krutzen. Daniel, good evening. Kristian and Charlie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks. Great to see you. Hope things are well. I know it's been a big year for you guys. I think we'll start there. Game number 40 in 162 days or something ridiculous like that. And you've you've made a final. It is pretty crazy. Yeah. What's this journey been like in 2021? And I would imagine just playing so many games so often, it's just been massive, for the camaraderie and just gathering that group together again.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure. From the beginning on. It's I can remember in the start we didn't really know when things were going to kick off and where we were going to play and in the bubble, and there was no time for preparation and all that stuff. So I believe there was 2 weeks before the bubble we got the news that we were going to play 8 games in I don't know how many days. So yeah, that was a wild start, and then of course the games just kept coming and coming. So it's like, yeah, not really a lot of time to think in between games, and I think we were up for the challenge, and I think we've shown that this whole season that these past 39, 40 games, yeah, you just no time to think, you just keep going.
And it has been go, 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 especially for you guys who have played obviously more games than any other team in the league, but you still keep winning, right? I mean, you finish the season at the top of the table. Just I don't really know what it is. Like, what do you think it is about you guys that has just made you so capable of getting through all of these games and just to stay so consistent?
I think there's just a huge motivation in this team to keep doing better and better every year. We talk about it in the locker room quite often. It's doing better every single year, and I think we've done that for the past 3 years of raising the bar a little bit every single year and advancing to more rounds and more tournaments, and just keep playing those games and keep winning. And yeah, we just have so much motivation in this whole team, and we, like I said, we talk about it so much, and it's very important for this team to keep doing that year in and year out.
Daniel, your team has raised the bar significantly of standard of quality in this league. But overall, as someone who's been here since day one, what's it been like this year? And I know the games have come thick and fast, so you could even say some teams haven't been at their best for every game. But have you seen a noticeable difference in quality this year compared to 2 years ago in the league?
In the league, for sure, yeah. I was talking about this with my parents too, and my dad was saying how the league in general has gotten a lot better, and even the depth in our team was very important this year because of all those games, because if we had I don't know, maybe a roster with less players, then it's harder to rotate and harder to bring in that quality no matter the position. But I think that's also been huge for us this year, is the depth in our roster, and like you guys have talked about, just the rotation between players that was important for us this year, and it's important to keep up with that quality in the league that just keeps getting better every year.
Daniel, as we kind of have touched on here, you're one of the guys that has been with this club since pretty much the beginning. I mean, to be fair, most of you guys have. It's been very consistent over these 3 years. But something I'm interested in is for you, obviously, as an international player coming in, there were a lot of guys in this group that have grown up in the Sigma Academy or knew Bobby for a long time. What was it like for you kind of coming in at the beginning to this whole setup and just seeing the success with all of these guys? Like, what has this process been like for you specifically coming into this?
Right. No, I remember in the first week that I was here, it was everybody was kind of friends with each other. Everybody knew each other, and I was like, I don't really know that many people. So that was kind of funny in the beginning, but after you're a part of this team for 2-3 weeks, it's just like you've never been anywhere else. It's just such a tight group of guys, and everybody can talk to each other and handle each other. So it's like it's easy to become a part of this team, especially because they're also welcoming, and I think that's been a huge part of Sigma in the past years and even decades. It's the culture that's in this team that makes it possible for other guys to come in and just be a part of it immediately.
Our guest is Daniel Krutzen from Forge as we get set to preview the final on Sunday in Tim Hortons Field. I got a two-part question for you, Daniel. First of all, obviously born in the Netherlands and grew up in Belgium. When we write about you, because I know people have asked me this question before, are you Dutch or are you Belgian? Or is it neither wrong answer? Which one is it?
No, it's technically I'm Dutch because I was born in the Netherlands, like you said, so I have a Dutch passport.
Right.
But then the tricky part is that I never actually lived in the Netherlands, so I grew up in Belgium my whole life.
Okay.
So it's kind of a tricky question, like you said. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's so close, right? It's
Right. Of course.
yeah. The second part of the question is talk about passports. How far are you away from getting a Canadian one? Because I want you to play for Canada.
I'm pretty close, to be honest.
Really?
So yeah, I've applied for the PR.
Okay.
Still waiting on the approval. So that's definitely in the works. Yeah.
All right, so we need to contact Canadian Soccer Association to speed that up because I think
John
we could
Herdman, pay attention,
you could
please.
let's get this guy as a left-sided centre back in the Canadian national team. That's what I reckon, Charlie.
Maybe, who knows?
Fantastic stuff. Following up on that, so what about Canada is it that you love? Obviously, you made a big decision to come here to play for them in 2019. And I know the football's kept you busy and you've been lifting trophies and succeeding as well. But what else away from the pitch do you love about living in this country?
Everything off the field. I lived in Hamilton in my first and second year, and then lived with teammates, obviously. And it's just the way of life. The people here are nice. It's just overall a very, very nice area to live in. And then as of this season, I met my girlfriend over the summer, so we live together now in downtown Toronto. So obviously, living in a big city like this is very attractive. And yeah, it's just I love everything about it. It's the big city, it's the whole country, it's the people, it's the way that you guys do things here. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I find it very, very nice to be living in this country.
Yeah, as someone who also lives in Toronto, it's fun. It's a good
Right.
place to live.
Yeah.
But I mean, even from a footballing perspective, Daniel, you seem to have found a home, at Forge in a CPL. Just how, I mean, obviously, how happy are you here at this club? And just as a player, I mean, you're still only 25. Just how much ambition do you have of whether it's being here or moving up a level? Just as a player, just how are you feeling about all that?
Feel pretty good. The thing is, I've definitely been ambitious from the first day I got here, and I think the abilities are there, and I think people know that. But at the same time, I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to have played here for Forge and still play for them, and to keep that going. I think, like I said before, we've won trophies before in the past 2 seasons, and we try to do that again this year. And like I said, we want to raise that bar every single year. And yeah, it's just great to be a part of that and be an important part of that, and just to see not only the club but also the league just grow in this country. And it's just, yeah, it's been an amazing ride for the past 3 years, and very exciting to see what's next.
Daniel, you get a front row ticket to watching your midfield every game. What's that like with obviously Jonsson and Cisse and Becker, and then maybe speak individually about Kyle because he's the leader of your team. He's the captain. Sometimes we see him operating as a number 6 when players go off and he's just everything in front of him. Then he can go as an 8. Then he goes further up and presses. How impressive is it to watch this midfield?
It's a joy to watch. Sometimes it makes my job a lot easier too, playing from the back. But yeah, it's just the quality in every single player that's in that midfield. Alex is a very very important part to this team. I think he's very underrated. I think he's not the flashy player that will score all the goals for us, but he does so much important stuff. And it's, yeah, like I said, it makes my job and our job in the back line a bit easier. But then obviously the whole midfield, there's so much quality, and especially with someone like Kyle, who's a leader who gets us going before the games, during the games. And yeah, it's just the trust that you have in him, and just in the players in general. It's also a part, like, it's important for us because we've been together for 3 years now, so it's easier to play together. You know what you have from each other, if that makes sense. You know how to play with each other. You get to know the tendencies of everyone. So I think that's also been very important for this whole team, that we've stayed together for so long, and it only makes it easier for the whole team.
Alex doesn't score a lot of goals, but he has scored important ones before. I think he scored the winning goal in the final last year. But Daniel, speaking of the midfield, I mean, you yourself played in that midfield a lot, especially in the 2019 season, right? If I'm remembering right.
First half at York as well this year,
and you've done it a couple times this year as well.
Yeah.
But I think since then you've kind of became very entrenched in Forge's backline as a center back, a central defender. What like maybe is the process here? Have you always seen yourself as more of a defender, or was there kind of a moment at Forge where Bobby's kind of like, hey, I need you to be one of my center backs for me? What has maybe the process been like?
Well, when I was back in Belgium as a youth player, I would always play center back, and then as I grew up, as I played for the U19 and the reserves, I think physically I wasn't as big of a guy, so they moved me out to the left back. And then I think I remember coming to Forge. I started playing as a left back. My first game at home against Pacific, I played as a left back, and then our assistant coach back then, Peter Reinders, he was my youth coach back in Belgium, so he remembered me as the center back, and I think that's where he saw all of my qualities displayed the best. So I think he had an influence on probably getting me into that back line, into the center of it, and yeah, that's basically how it started out. I remember the first half in the first season in 2019, I switched between center back and left back quite a lot, and then towards the end of the half of the season, obviously with David Edgar on the right side and me on the left side, I think we had a good partnership going. I think that's how it basically started and stayed in the center back role mainly.
A couple more questions and we'll let you go. And again, thanks so much for your time and a busy week for you guys. What's it like when you win a trophy with the group of players that you're with for so long? I know 2020 was a little bit shorter, but as a footballer, and Charlie and I are not going to do this, so tell us in the mind of what it's like as a winner when you get over that line and you spent months and months with a group, and in the end you look at each other and you spray the champagne and you'll be champions forever. What's that like as a feeling, and is that something that is a massive motivator for you guys on Sunday?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've done it in the past 2 years, and you don't forget that feeling, after having such a long season with with so much effort put in from the whole group, and then it just feels like a joy. It feels amazing when you're able to lift that trophy after a long and hard season. So it's definitely the motivation, but I think it's also it's embedded in our culture now. We obviously love winning those trophies, having those trophies in the locker room. They're on display. So whenever you walk into the locker room, you see those two, and you're like, let's just add a third one to it. That's basically the thought that we have going on in our minds all the time.
Just one last one for me. I think I ask every Forge player this, but do you guys have a perspective or an idea of, just what you guys have accomplished over these 3 years? You haven't won the third championship yet, but if you do, that's a three-peat, and that's pretty rare in professional sports. I mean, you've done what you have in CONCACAF League. You've beaten teams with, 100-year histories as a 2-3-year-old club. Do you guys ever talk about or think about just how far you've come in literally only 3 years of existing?
Yeah, no, to be honest, not really. Like in the group, it doesn't play as much. It's more like we take it game by game, and we just try and win as much as we can. So that's basically what we talk about as a group. But obviously, you hear in the press and whatever that what we're doing is amazing for the club and for the country. So then you start to think about it sometimes, and it's like, yeah, we've done quite a lot in the past 3 years that this club's been in existence, and obviously it's something to be proud of, all of us, that what we've done.
Last one for you before we let you go. Bobby Smirniotis, what's he like? What's the favorite part of working under Bobby?
That he's so prepared for everything. I mean, it's amazing how much he knows about the game, and how versatile versatile he makes us as a team. It's like you guys said, whenever there's injury, suspensions, there's always a way to correct that, or to improve, to adapt to what we have to do. And the scouting of the opponent is always very important. That we always have a style of play, but then we always like to adjust 3 to 4 little things based on how the opponent plays, and he has a very good insight of that, and that's I think what makes him so strong as a coach. And it's amazing to have worked with him for the past 3 seasons, and obviously he means a lot to Canadian soccer as well.
Yeah, he certainly does. It's a thrill for us to watch him, what he does and get out the best out of players like yourself. Our league is better for having players like you in it, so we thank you for it again, and we thank you for the time this evening as well, Daniel. All the best on Sunday. It's going to be a special day. Thanks again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Our pleasure. Daniel Krutzen of Forge. one of the best centre backs in the league. We'll say it and leave it at that. And a player that is, hey, could be playing for Canada. We got it out of him, Charlie. Why not? Let's start the campaign
Maybe
right now.
one day.
Why not? He's good enough to go on a quite a farther path than where he is right now one day as well. As an exceptional leader of the defense, reads the game really well as well. So great to have him. That's one centre back. Let's bring another centre back into the show immediately. Our centre back partnerships is complete, and here he is, Lukas MacNaughton of Pacific FC. As I said off the top of the show, Lukas, if we were put together a best 11 of the year, the best two centre backs in the league were probably Daniel Krutzen and Lukas MacNaughton. We got you on as a partnership. Lukas, how are you today?
I'm very good. How are you guys? I was hoping to speak to Danny actually, but hey.
Sorry about that. Well, we could have brought you in, and you guys could have.
He's still in there.
Could have talked about it. If he's still in there, throw him back in if he wants. But listen, you're in a final, my friend, and you didn't get to play in the semi-final. I saw you out there in Calgary, and let's start there. How tough was that as being a suspended player, watching your team in a game like that? And then what was that feeling like when you're out on the pitch, knowing that they've done it and you can play in a final?
I think for me, the toughest thing for me was just the way that we got into that I got into that situation, the way that I felt I wasn't able to play. It's a little bit different when you're injured or when you've done something outrageous and you're suffering the consequences. But I felt like I was unjustly not part of that game, and playing every game with the team and being part of that team for the whole season, you just feel like you've been pulled away from it. But to be there was just great atmosphere. It was great to be in the hotel with the boys before the match. And then to have to suffer in the cold with those nerves just made it going on the pitch after that much better.
Yeah, I'm sure you were pretty pumped to be able to run around on the pitch after the game, because it did look pretty cold. I wasn't there, but I know you two were.
He was running around all right. I was running after him to get an interview. So
yeah,
he was pretty pumped.
You caught him in the end.
Yeah.
But Lukas, it's been a hell of a season for you guys at Pacific, right? It feels, we were saying at the top of the show here, it feels right for these two teams to be meeting in the final. Does it feel the same way to you guys, that you're not there yet, you've still got the game to play, but it feels like you guys have been, at least to this point, rewarded for a really good season?
It does. I think the way that the season ended for us in terms of the regular season and us being in third place, we were quite disappointed about it, because that's not where we felt we deserved to be. And at a time we were playing unbelievable football, and we thought that there's no way any team can beat us. But then we took a little dip in the season. That happens to everybody, but we really feel like we've played great football. We have the capacity to play great football. We have a lot of talented players, and we have the desire to be at the top. And I think every day that we train, we come in with expectations to be the best. And if it's not the best, then there is frustrations that come out of training, and we're always hard on each other. So yeah, being in the final is something that we looked forward to. It was one of the ambitions we had at the beginning of the season, and that we're here, it feels right. Now we want to win it, of course.
We'll get into the final a little bit more in a minute, but we're always forever getting new fans on this show, new fans into the league, fans watching their first Canadian Premier League game on Sunday, no doubt, with the final. Part of that time is telling personalities and getting to know you a little bit more. Lukas, maybe you can just give our viewers a little bit of background on you, because you've got a fascinating story as well. I know we talked to Danny before about the Belgian connection. You've got that a little bit going to Europe. Maybe you can just let us, born in the US, obviously going to Europe, played in Canada. Just give us a little bit of your background that brought you to the Canadian Premier League.
Mine's a little bit of a funny one, but I guess that's kind of what the CPL is for, what this whole league is for guys that weren't on that highway one straight to the top. I was born in the States, grew up there till I was about 8, and then I moved to Belgium, grew up there, moved to Canada for university, went to U of T, did my 4 or 5 years, and then when this league came in, ended up out on the West Coast.
Yeah, you were at U of T for a few years, played in League One Ontario for a couple of years. The final's pretty close by in Hamilton. Do you have any friends coming to the game on Sunday?
I do. The Canadian, that's one of the things with Canada also in the football world, is it's quite small. So
yeah,
I have played against a lot of the guys on Forge in the past. A lot of friends. we have common friends with a lot of guys on their team. A lot of guys that I went to school with live in Toronto, so they'll be coming out. So there'll be a big Pacific contingent out in Hamilton.
Sounds good. What is it about this team, Lukas? And I'm sure you're prepared for it, so you're not going to give us all the secrets. But what is it about Forge that you need to do to beat them? Like when you played against them in the past, you've been close. Obviously, I think about the game at Tim Hortons Field where you really had your chances to win that game, and then they scored 10 minutes before the end and you got nothing, which I think was probably unjust at the time. But that seems to be the case against Forge sometimes. They just find ways to win, don't they? What is it that's going to take for you guys to get over the hump there on Sunday?
That is you said exactly. That is one of the things that they have. They're clinical. They might not be dominating the game for the whole match, but if they get one chance, they'll put it away. So one of the big things for us is just being focused for 90 minutes from the very first minute till the very last minute. And that comes on set pieces, basically anything being switched on for the whole 90 minutes. That's a very big component of what's going to make it on Sunday.
You guys are obviously going on the road to Hamilton, but you know, you won on the road before. You won obviously in Calgary, and I think before that game we asked Pa about that, about going and playing on the road, and I think what he said was, we don't really care where it is. We're going to play the same game. We're going to do what we do. Is that something that kind of transfers onto you guys? Is that how you guys feel as well? I mean, obviously you'd prefer to be at home on Vancouver Island, but I'm sure the setting won't make that much of a difference to you guys, will it?
No, definitely. We love to go on the road. We love to make their fans a little bit disappointed. At home's always nice because our fans are great. They're fantastic. They're loud. But going on the road is part of the CPL, part of those big trips, it's what you have to do in this league.
So, Lukas, take us in the mind of the team right now. So this season was pretty jam-packed. You guys had a lot of games in a very short amount of time, right, to get it all through, and there's games every 4 or 5 days. And then the speed changed. You guys had 13 days off between the end of the regular season and the game in Calgary. You had another couple of weeks now here. What's that been like? Have you had days off? Have you felt like that more people are getting healthier at the right time? And have you been able to have a lot more success by working on the training field to get ready for a game like this?
There were moments in the season that were tough physically for everyone. And I think you could ask anyone in the league, it was tough, and it was a grind just getting to match day. So having these extra days is fantastic. Preparing for a final is even better. Then you have time to look at the opponent, prepare what you need to prepare, organize yourself, and be healthy. Everybody's healthy, and everybody is looking sharp. And I think maybe some teams can get away from it, can get away from that match sharpness if they don't train at a certain intensity. But the way that we train, like I mentioned before, is always intense. It's always sharp. It's always physical. So we feel game ready, and I don't think we've lost anything from not playing recently, and I think we've only benefited from it, really.
Right.
Just to expand on that maybe a little bit, I think somebody asked us earlier up in the chat about how you guys had these 2 weeks off. Meanwhile, Forge had 2 CONCACAF games. They obviously went to Honduras last night, I think it was. I don't know what day it is, but the question I think was to me and KJ, but I'll ask it to you here. Do you prefer having this time off, having this time to prepare, or do you think the match rhythm is a little bit more important, or maybe is it somewhere in between?
I think in a long season, a little bit of a break is nice, but when it comes down to a final, it really, you get this adrenaline that comes back, and so I think it comes down to the day and who wants it more, and all those factors that happen before or outside of the game don't really factor in that much into a final, into a big match like this.
Right.
So whoever shows up, we'll get it.
So talking about showing up, what will that be like for you? Do you know what you're going to be like on the day of the game? Are you a nervous planner? Do you sleep much the night before? I mean, it's arguably the biggest game of your career, is it not? Like right up there with any big final you've ever played before. What's that like, and how do you try? If you do, I don't know. Do you embrace that as an athlete, that it's a massive occasion, or do you just try and pretend that it's just another match?
I'm gonna say I try and stay cool. Don't let it get to me. But no, I'm a good sleeper. So as soon as I put my head down, I'm gone. I'm out. That's not a problem for me. But I think it really comes down to your preparation the week, not really on the game day or the night before, but what you've been doing the whole week. And that's just really training the way that you want to play come Sunday.
Right.
So I've been, as a team, we've really just been training like that.
Yeah, I think a little bit of extra fire, a little extra energy probably wouldn't hurt. I mean, I think back to
I
the
think
game you guys...
that comes in the game.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of nerves come right before game, but as soon as the whistle blows, you're on the pitch. It's like any other game you play in your life. When you get on the ball, kind of things get blocked out. You don't hear anything anymore, and then it just becomes another game. And then maybe late on in the game, 80th minute, 85th minute, when your legs start to get heavy, you get that extra adrenaline that comes in because it's a final, because it means everything. So
I don't want to put you on the spot here, but if you guys actually do get a spot kick, are you taking the ball this time or what? Like, because last time you know where I'm going here. Last time you took the ball,
we all have to wait and see. You have to wait and see.
That's the way I want to see it. That's the way.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Keep your nerves high too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys have played a couple games this year. I'm thinking about that Whitecaps game that you basically approached like it was a final, right? Especially the way that you came into the game with, the pressing and the energy. So I think it's not completely unfamiliar, right?
Oh, I would say that game was actually, on a personal level, to a lot of guys on the team, meant more than this game, because it was so personal. And the way that the team reacted to that was fantastic. So I can only imagine how the game will go this weekend.
Last couple of questions for you, and we'll let you go, my friend. Your coach, Pamadou Carr, obviously a massive personality for your team. But what personally does he mean to you? How has he made you better? Because obviously a defender by trade. How much has he developed you, and how much have you learned from him this season? And what have you learned best from him?
An unbelievable amount. Because he's in the same position, and I think watching his videos, I play similar to him. We like to be on the ball. We like to kind of dictate the play. He's really helped me a lot. He's tried to guide me in the way that he would have played, and what he knows from the game and his experience that he has in the game, and really give me that confidence to play that way, not to feel any pressure from anything else, and just to be brave on the ball, to command the back line and have a good time while playing. So I've learned a lot from him, and we have a great relationship, and it's been fantastic playing under him.
And it's certainly gone fantastically this year. You've obviously had a really good season yourself, but I think the most obvious question, Lukas, for you personally, and just as a player who's been at this club for 3 years since the beginning, what would it mean for you guys to win this trophy, to walk out of Tim Hortons Field with the championship this weekend?
Well, the one time we do beat them, this is the time to beat them. So it would mean everything. I mean, to the fans, to the organization, it's been a lot of hard work, and to make it all come down to one match and away from home, it's even bigger.
One match, one final, one chance at glory. Special time, no doubt. Enjoy it, Lukas. We'll see you on Sunday. Thanks again for spending some time with us. Travel safe across this great country, and we'll see you on the weekend.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Always appreciate it. Lukas MacNaughton. Yeah, always a pleasure too. Arguably, again, one of the finest defenders we have in our league, and just a great guy. As I said, I saw him at the hotel in Calgary, and Pamadou Carr joked, actually. He turned to me and said, I've got another coach on my team this week. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad you brought him. And he was just buzzing with that anxiety of not knowing how to play. And then I saw him on the pitch afterwards, and he ran on the field. And as he said, and he quite likely said, imagine being suspended for that match and just being not sure if you're going to play a final, Charlie. And then the team does it in that way. And as a massive part of that team, you now get to play in a final and help that team. That must be just to have that feeling of not having any kind of say in it, and a hopeless feeling, and then realize that, hang on, now the team's going to be relying on me, must be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one thing. It's one thing to watch a knockout game go to extra time as a fan of a team,
right?
But as a part of that team, as a player who's played almost every game for them, and then you don't get to play this one, I'm sure he was extraordinarily thankful to those players for pulling it out for him, because he definitely wanted to play another game. And
Yeah, he
Good for
definitely
him.
did. Oh yeah, he's. Any questions? Get them in before we get Adam Jenkins in. Put your questions on the side. Great to see so many of you here, getting ready for the final. Tickets still available, by the way, to go to Hamilton, Ontario. Very reasonable. You know, you're gonna get tickets under $35 to go watch a major final here in Canada in December, and we're not gonna be able to say that very often as well. And talking of weather. Our very own weatherman extraordinaire himself, Adam Jenkins. He's got his jacket on. He's outside. I feel like he's going to give us a weather report now, live from the streets of Burlington, Ontario. Adam, my man, you announced it today. You're calling the game on Sunday. First of all, congratulations, well deserved. I can't think of a better man to call the game. How excited are you for that honor?
Oh, there's so many layers to my excitement for it. Obviously, I have a special connection to Forge this year with the CONCACAF League. I feel like I was a small piece of it. Like I got to be sort of the domestic or regional broadcaster for a change where you get to be a little bit more excited. And like, this is the wrong word, whole atmosphere, part of the game. And I feel like I really got to do that. So it was fantastic. And then I have so many family members on the island that I feel like there's a piece of my heart that will always be Pacific Purple. So, I mean, from the game perspective itself, it's going to be incredible. And just all in, it's just an amazing opportunity. And I put out the tweet earlier. I'm not sure if everyone saw the thread, but the last time I did a game in person was 6 years ago. It was my second year at Ryerson. I was 19, and Lukas MacNaughton played in the game. He scored a goal against my alma mater. So he was the captain of the Varsity Blues. He scored the goal. He broke Ryerson Rams' hearts. So that was a cool bit of symmetry. But all in, I'm so looking forward to being back in the stadium. It's going to be an amazing day.
Yeah, that's great news, man. I'm so happy you're going to be there as well. What is it about these two teams that you think make them worthy finalists? Because we said off the top we couldn't think of a better final, and you've covered this game and you've done every team and so many games this year, but it feels like the right two teams, doesn't it?
It does. I think it's 67 is the total games I've done this year. 60. This will be my 60th CPL game, plus some Canadian Championship and CONCACAF League. So it closes on 75. So I know them all really well. I think what makes it a good game, KJ, is that it's going to be an exciting game. I'm a little bit disappointed we're not going to see the snow. It's forecasted for rain now instead of perhaps an orange ball blizzard kind of quirky final. But it's just the number of weapons up and down for these teams. It's the fact that Marco Bustos may not play, and I know you guys had him on, so he'll have more insight than I may. If he's good to go, he might come off the bench, but that's okay for Pacific, which is a wild thing to say. They're aesthetically pleasing to watch, Forge and Pacific both. I'm really looking forward to the midfield battle. I think it's the two best midfields in the CPL, and then there's so many difference makers up top. I mean, Mobabuli, he may not be the most valuable player, but he might be the most outstanding player. And I think this could be like a real show-up game for Terran Campbell. I know Charlie was in my Twitter space last night just after full time of Forge's match, and we were talking about the anticipation for Pacific to know that they're sitting at home watching these CONCACAF League games going, we're 90 minutes away from that being us next year. And I think there's just so much on the line. And either way, it's a great story. And you guys know as well as anyone on the media perspective that we always love a good story. So you're either going to get the three-peat, the dynasty, or you're going to get someone dethroning the champions. It's like the heir and the heir apparent. I mean, there's so many layers. I got to save some of the stories, KJ, for the broadcast, but that's my surface level analysis for now.
Yeah, there couldn't possibly be more storylines. I mean, you said it best. Whoever wins this game, I think we already know what the stories are going to be, which is cool. And I think the other thing that I like about this matchup between these teams is both of them have stars. They have recognizable players who are, as you said, difference makers. And I think that's another thing that's awesome about the CPL and this league is you've got these recognizable players that fans of teams will start to know. And obviously from a inside football perspective, clubs higher up the ladder will start to get to know. And I think that's all really cool about this as well.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%. And I think too, one of the layup storylines that I really enjoy is the fact that this could be Forge's third championship in a row. It'd be the first time in Hamilton that they actually got to lift the North Star Shield, and they wouldn't have to fly home with the hardware in tow. They'd be able to go out, celebrate, and be with the fans who have watched them have so much success from a distance, and it's just going to feel a lot more intimate this time, especially if they pull it off.
Sounds good, my man. You and Ian Hume, right? Has it been announced Humey's with you?
Hume, I sort of forced him into letting the cat out of the bag, but he confirmed it shortly thereafter. It's going to be Hume and I, and Jordan Wilson, who was on OneSoccer today, on our show today, and he did a great job. He's going to be on the panel as well. And I always get frustrated when athletes step into a media role for the first time and they knock it out of the park. I just find it so unfair that they can be so gifted in so many different things. And Jordan's definitely one of those guys. So I'm really excited to see what he can bring. And look, he knows how you go into Horton's field and you get a result. So I think there's going to be a lot of good tidbits, especially with the rivalry that he'll be able to share. So another thing that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, he should be on there. I saw him today as well. Really delighted he's on the panel. He'll be on with Oliver Platt and Gareth Wheeler. Adam and Hume on the call, and one guy on the sideline getting soaked.
Yep.
This guy.
Have fun.
Hey, you can get soaked. I want to hear nothing from any of you about weather, KJ. You know what I was going through 3 weeks ago, mate.
I do.
So you're going to have a little bit less sympathy from me.
I have the video to be seen on Adam Jenkins'
You do
Twitter.
have the video.
I videoed it. 2 videos I've gone viral this year. One, the big fight at BMO Field that I videoed, and the other one, Adam Jenkins shoveling snow in the Edmonton Commonwealth Stadium. The joys of being a sideline reporter on national television, right there.
It's so glamorous.
It's going in the book, KJ. And you got to take some credit for the GIF, the CONCACAF pitch invader.
Oh yeah, that's
getting
true.
Tackled by Canada Soccer. You were the director of that
what a
video. So
hit.
that's 3 you've had gone viral this year.
I did come up with that idea. You're right. It's amazing what you can come up with when you sit around with people for 6 days in Edmonton with not much to do, right? Hey, we always have each other, my friend. Always have each other. Forever my teammate, Adam Jenkins. Congratulations again Sunday. We'll see you there at Tim Hortons Field. Have a good night, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. See you guys all on Saturday.
Thanks, Adam.
See you then. Adam Jenkins, OneSoccer, calling the game. Does a great job. Does a lot of games on his own. A lot of games from inside a studio. It's not easy, guys. Not easy at all. I had pleasure to call a game with him this year. He's a terrific young broadcaster and paving the way for many other young broadcasters that will come our way as this continues to be a sport that gets taken over in this country by media. People grow up wanting to be hockey commentators, CFL commentators. People want to be commentators in soccer now. I see the resumes. I talk to these kids. And he's an example of it, Charlie. I mean, you and him, I feel like you and him are so young as it is. But do you know what I'm saying? Right? This is what we're doing now. The next generation of people in this country want to talk soccer, want to write soccer. They want to do it. And the Canadian Premier League gives people an outlet like that all the time. Come on, as I said, jump on in, come in our press conferences, get to know our players and coaches and the national team as well. Right, Charlie? It's a great sport to cover for young Canadians.
Absolutely. And there's plenty of opportunities to just start something yourself and start covering it. And I think I've said it all along. Canada, we can say that it's not, or people can say it's not a soccer country. People have always liked the sport in this country. There just haven't been opportunities for any, for players, for coaches, for media, for even fans. There haven't been those opportunities really until quite recently. So it's just exploding now, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be great. No doubt about it. As well, Sunday, a reminder, I think the 1 hour pregame coverage, on OneSoccer begins at 3:30. So you can get on OneSoccer at 3:30 on Sunday for 1 hour coverage of that. Saturday will be media day. We'll be all over that. And as we've been all over the final already, CanPL.ca this week. Once the CONCACAF game started last night, all our coverage is there right now. Please go to CanPL.ca. And we are going to have tons and tons of stuff. We've already got Bobby Smirniotis beyond the pitch. We have got Palmer Dukar beyond the pitch, interviews with them. Charlie's writing about Terran Campbell. Going to speak to him and do an interview with him. Marty Thompson spoke, obviously, to Tristan Henry. We've got features coming up, matchups. We've got, the best things to look for on the pitch. We've got more shows coming up. We've got an interview with Kwame Awuwa tomorrow. We've got tactic breakdown on Pacific. Charlie, we're all over this game, man.
All over it.
We're all over it. It's going to be great. And I hope you guys can enjoy it, read it, watch it. A big game in Canadian soccer in December. Next time we're going to be saying that, Qatar 2022. The next time we say a big game in Canadian soccer in December. That's right. This time next year, Canada are going to be playing in the World Cup in Qatar.
Does Canada have to get to the knockout stages to play in December?
I didn't even work it out, but I don't think so. November 22nd.
Either way.
It takes 2 weeks. Usually. So let's just, we're going to say it anyway. Canada's going to be playing in December 2022. We said it here first. There you go. Jeffrey's having a go at Adam Jenkins' internet connection. To be fair, Jeffrey, I did ask Adam late, and he was, as I said, literally in a bar in Burlington, Ontario, with his mate Lloyd. Every credit that he went out in the cold, put on his OneSoccer coat, And now he can go back and have his wine or whatever it is. So there you go. All right, I think we'll wrap this up. Like I said, Sunday, 4:30 kickoff, 3:30 will be the pregame show. We'll be all over it as well. Cannot wait. Charlie, final thoughts?
I just can't wait. It's been, I know that we've had Forge in these CONCACAF games in the last 2 weeks, but I've really been looking forward to this final. It's just going to be so cool.
Me too. And if you're on the fence and you're not sure whether to go, trust me, you'll enjoy it. The chance to go and see a final. If you're like me, and I'm sure many of you are, and your love for sports, it doesn't matter whether it's your team or not your team. I always get a little emotional when I see players lift trophies. That togetherness that they've been there. You don't just get handed this silverware, guys. People win things unless it's like the Community Shield or something. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about real trophies. When you win a real trophy in any sport and those guys lift it and gals lift it, that's meaningful. That's powerful. And that's why they play the game. League games get there, but this is why they play the game, to win this. So have a chance to witness history in front of your own eyes. Enjoy it, everybody. And hey, we've come through the pandemic where we weren't even allowed in these stadiums. So you can get in there to watch the final. Go and enjoy it. I can't say it enough. And if you can't, and you're across this wonderful country, as I said, OneSoccer, you can be a place to watch it on Sunday. My thanks to Charlie O'Connor-Clark. Continue to follow all his work there on CanPL.ca. And again, to Daniel Krutzen and Lukas MacNaughton, great guests, and Adam Jenkins of OneSoccer, who'll be calling the game with Ian Hume on Sunday. This has been a wrap. Enjoy the game. This has been a preview. If you missed part of the show, go back and listen to it on our podcast stream, as usual, at CanPL.ca and on our Newsroom podcast. And we'll be all over it, previewing it ahead of Sunday, and we'll see you on Sunday at Tim Hortons Field.